leader.
With the 11th pick in the 2026 NBA Draft, the Golden State Warriors select Yaxel Lendeborg from the University of Michigan.
Yeah, all this talk about players who might be playing for the Golden State Warriors. Let's focus on one that we know is going to be that guy. That is Yaxel Lendeborg, the 11th overall pick, as we found out last week. And we are joined by one of his college coaches. That is Andy Kennedy, who played at UAB, second leading scorer in program history, now entering his 7th year as the head coach of the program. And he, of course, discovered Yaxel from JUCO and ultimately helped him blossom into the national champion and 11 overall pick. Andy, thanks so much for joining us. Greg Silver, John Dickinson here on KNBR in the Bay Area. We are excited to get to watch Yaxel Lendeborg up close, and I know you've done that many, many games in your lifetime. How are you today?
Hey, guys, I'm great, man. I appreciate the opportunity to be on, and you guys should be excited about Yaxel. Tremendous, tremendous young man, still a baby as it relates to basketball. You know, he had I'm sure y'all are aware of his story, but he barely played in high school.
Mm-hmm.
And he had 3 years at junior college because of the COVID season, which was cut short, 2 with me and then the 1 with Michigan. So he's really only been playing organized basketball around 6 or 7 years. He's a delightful kid. You'll have a lot of fun with him off the court, and I think he comes in and has the opportunity to make an immediate contribution on the court.
It's a remarkable story. And I mean, look, this is a player who was working in a warehouse, had no plans to attend college, and his mother encouraged him to keep pursuing basketball. So what was he like as a person when you began recruiting him? Like, what was his confidence level? Was he someone that was still finding his way? Tell us about your early interactions with Yaxel.
He's always got a great spirit. He's a very kind person. He's a humble person. A lot of times people, and you guys will see this, and when you see it, you're going to remember I told you this. You're going to say, man, he's kind of goofy sometimes. He's like he's got this childlike innocence to almost everything that he does. Again, I haven't been around him in a year. Maybe that's changed in his time in Ann Arbor because he certainly was on a rocket ship to start him there. But he's got a great spirit about him. When he came to us, he had no idea what he was capable of doing. We saw it pretty early. He's got all the measurables. He's legit 6'9", 7'3", 7'4" wingspan, 240 pounds, great hands, can dribble, pass, and shoot. We was like, oh, man, this kid's got a real chance. And he didn't really have a lot of inner confidence. He didn't really understand what he was capable of doing. So we were fortunate to have him for 2 years and really try to help him pull it out for himself. He started gaining confidence. He started learning how to work. He started understanding each and every day the consistency which is necessary in order to be successful. And he really did a great job for us over his time here.
Coach, I want to get into the spirit and personality part because one of the things that surprised me in reading different evaluations of Yaxel was that some questioned his maturity. And I looked at that and I thought, well, I don't know the man as, personality, but he sure plays mature on the court. How do you sort of look at the spirit and personality versus what some would say, maybe maturity would be an issue? And then to the extent of he sure doesn't play that way.
No, he plays like a grown man. Let me address that first. When he really made a huge jump from when he started here. By the end of his first year with us, he was a first-team All-League player. He was setting records, not only UAB records, which is a very proud program, founded by Gene Bartow, who I'm sure you Californians are still very familiar with because he came after John Wooden at UCLA, came here, started a program from scratch, had tremendous success. So Yaxel came in and broke a lot of UAB programs, but he also broke the American Conference records that had been set for a number of years in his first year, and he still wasn't even realizing what he was capable of. We ended up winning the conference championship. He was MVP, and it was the greatest moment of his life, self-proclaimed by himself at the podium. He came back to us. He could have left. He could have gone into the portal. He stayed with us, stayed true. He's a loyal kid. He really is about the right things. Teammates love him because he's a giving player on and off the floor, and really evolved into a guy that he had no idea he was going to get the next year. That was the Diego Pavia rule, where all the kids that had played in junior college that were exhausting their eligibility got the extra year. So he didn't know he was going to get an extra year. He got the extra year mid-season. I think it was like November-ish when they announced that. And as a result, he had the opportunity to go to Michigan, and the rest is history. So he's a really mature player. He's matured over time. I think he's gained confidence as he will as he gets some experience at the NBA level. But off the court, it's what I was speaking to. He's a very naive kid. He's a kid that has been somewhat sheltered as it relates to the business of basketball because he's a late comer to the party. He has not been exposed to a lot of the things that he had to get used to, not only at UAB, and then it was that times 100 at Michigan.
Yeah, Coach, I actually wanted to ask you about that because you were able to convince him to come back for a second season at UAB, one in which he won AAC Defensive Player of the Year. Was it difficult to convince him to stay during an era when players are now moving so freely through the transfer portal?
Honestly, it was not. He believed in our plan. When we recruited him out of junior college, we sold him on our vision. This was our vision for him. He came. He felt comfortable. We established relationships, and those relationships were real. So at the end of the first year, everything that we had told him had come to fruition. He believed in it, and he wanted to see if he could take it to the next step. We're certainly very fortunate that he did, but I also think it put him in a position where he was prepared to go and be the Big Ten Player of the Year, be a first-team All-American, and lead Michigan to a national championship.
Would you say he's more advanced immediately at the NBA level defensively or offensively? Because I see somebody offensively that's an unbelievable connector to everything going on, but defensively, I mean, the switchability in today's NBA game and really in basketball in general is something that also stands out.
I think connector is the perfect word. I call it facilitator. Some people ask me what makes Yax. Obviously, he's got the measurables. God has blessed him with those things. But I think he's got two special skill sets which make him a special player. Number one, he's got a real nose for the ball. He can rebound. He's not going to be a guy that's going to be above the square yanking down rebounds, but he is big. He's strong. He's got great hands, and he understands angles. He's a very, very good wedge rebounder. He was in the top 5 in the country both of the years for us. When he went to Michigan, just based on their lineup and the multitude of talent they had on their front court, they were able to play more at small forward, and then he played a little bit of 4. But for us, he was a 4-5 based on size and ability. So he's a great rebounder. And I think he is a fantastic passer. We saw that initially, and that was something that we, quite frankly, weren't anticipating. He's just got a gift. He's easy to play with because the ball flows through him. He is an unselfish scorer. I had to really, really ride him hard to get him to be an alpha and go make plays through double and triple teams because that's what our team needed, and that's what I felt like he needed in order to reach his potential. But he really is a great connector on the offensive end, and defensively I think he can guard 1 through 5. Obviously, there's going to be at times where he's going to get matched up with big size. He's always played some 5 at the college level, so the physicality should not be an issue. And because of his gap awareness, his spatial awareness, I think he can do a good job of staying in front of perimeter players.
Talking to Andy Kennedy, head coach of UAB men's basketball. Of course, that's where Yaxel Lendeborg was from JUCO before he went to Michigan and had a lot of success, helped him blossom into the player that is now the number 11 pick for the Golden State Warriors. So rookies in Golden State's always an interesting conversation because of where they're at with preserving the great careers of Steph Curry, Draymond Green. Steve Kerr has now decided to come back. And so it's a really unique situation for a lot of young players to come in and try to compete right away. What would your advice be to Yaxel playing in what's a pretty unique spot for a rookie to come in and try to do everything at a high level from the jump and not necessarily have that breathing room of mistakes that a lot of high draft picks are granted?
Well, number one, I was so excited to see him go into the lottery. I'd had a number of conversations, even though he didn't play for me this past year. When people are investing the type of investment that goes into lottery picks, there's going to be a lot of due diligence done, and justifiably so. So I fielded a lot of calls from people in the 7, 8 to 16, 17 range, and I was really excited. And I want to see him go in the lottery. Number two, see him go to such a organization as Golden State. The tremendous run that they've been on there over the last decade. They're expecting to win now. And I think he's a plug-and-play guy. I do. I just think he's unique. He'll be 24 years old, I guess, before the first game. I still tell people, because he's such a baby in the game, he's only about 6 or 7 years in, he's still a sponge. He's very malleable. He doesn't have a lot of mileage on his tires because he hadn't played a lot of basketball. He never played a second of AAU basketball. It hadn't been around the clock, so he's still a young 24. And I think his basketball IQ and the way in which he's just really improved from year one to year two for me, from after his 2 years here where he was one of the best mid-major players in college basketball, the number one rated player in the transfer portal that year, to go into a stage like Michigan, Big Ten basketball, and leading into a national championship. I think he's really ready to take that next step.
Well, you went where I wanted to go, Coach, and that's, so often with an older player entering the NBA, you hear about a capped ceiling, but because he hasn't played for as long, would you say that his ceiling and ability to grow at the NBA level is much greater than maybe what the stereotype is for somebody that's going to play their first game at 24?
No, I don't even know. And I'm a basketball Jones, guys. I lead kind of a boring life. I've got a past with Steve Kerr I could tell you about in another lifetime. But I don't know if I remember a guy like Yax, coming into the NBA. Maybe a Dennis Rodman who came in after the fact, and he started basketball late, and he did a bunch of amazing things that kind of caught everybody off guard. But Yax is a unicorn to me. I mean, to pardon the pun of Malcolm Gladwell, he's definitely an outlier. And I think the fact that he is just now finding out who he is as a basketball player. 3 years ago, he'll tell you he didn't know if he was a Division I player. To 3 years later, he's led a team to a national championship, and he's a lottery pick, and he's going to the Golden State Warriors to learn from the great Steve Kerr, the great Steph Curry, to be mentored by Draymond Green. For better or for worse, who knows what's going to happen over the next 72 hours with LeBron. So
right.
What an amazing story. And I really think there's a lot of upside yet in Yax. And I honestly think just based on his skill set, and he's not so dependent upon athleticism, I think he can play at a high level for a number of years.
Well, Coach, what do you think will require the most adjustments for Yaxel's game at the NBA level?
Just gaining experience. Yax is going to come in, and he's just got to get comfortable through the experience level. It's a completely different game, space and pace, shot clocks, illegal D, the way in which things, he's used to practicing for 60 days before the first game. Well, now he's going to practice for 6 and be thrown right into the action. So, again, from his experience, I think he's ready for the opportunity, and I think he's ready to make the most of it. For him, it's just about gaining experience, and through that experience playing well so that he gains his confidence. Once he gains his confidence, I think the Golden State Warriors are going to be very, very pleased with Yaxel Lendeborg.
And imagine if he is suiting up alongside LeBron James. Wouldn't that be something for a rookie in the basketball journey he has had? Coach, thank you so much for joining us today. Really, really appreciate your time, and I know you're out on the recruiting trail right now. Look, just following UAB from afar, I mean, it's been a really winning program. It's great to see coaches go back to their alma mater where they had a lot of success. So we'll be rooting for you from afar. And, hey, maybe we'll connect down the line as soon as Yaxel Lendeborg takes the court for real in October. And can't wait for it. It's going to be great.
Hey, my pleasure, guys. Great talking to you.
Absolutely. Andy Kennedy, the men's basketball coach for UAB. That's where Yaxel Lendeborg was out of junior college before he became a national champion out of Michigan 2 years in a row now, where the Warriors have drafted a national champion at that. I will tell you that segment of Papa and Silver with JD is sponsored by Redwood Credit Union. For you, for community, for 75 years. Join RCU today at redwoodcu.org. We got a little cup date for you when we come on back, and Team USA getting ready right here in our backyard. 5 o'clock kickoff against Bosnia-Herzegovina. Dude, how about Senegal? Late first half, 1-0 lead over Belgium. I'm telling you, man, a lot of these underdogs not messing around. It's Papa and Silver on the Sports Leader.